Have you ever thought about building a user-friendly mobile app without writing any code? In this video, I'm going to show you just how easy it is. We'll build Smart Social, a user-friendly mobile app that helps busy professionals like you and me manage our social media presence. First, I will give you a quick demo of Smart Social in action. Then I will walk you through each of the steps so you can build your very own no-code web app. Ready to see what no code can do? Let's dive in. Let's take a quick look at Smart Social. So this is my mobile phone. It's an iPhone. And what you'll see is that just a standard website. So this is my website, cloud33and3.com. And if I click the three bars there on the top right, I can see a sign in. So I will go ahead and sign in, enter my credentials. And once I enter my credentials, you'll see that I have access to another menu option. So on the right, I'll click the drop down once again, and there we see Smart Social. So let's navigate to Smart Social and see what we get. So we land here, Smart Social engagement on autopilot. I have two options. One is to generate a post or generate a summary. And the second option is to actually post that summary on our social media distribution channels. So let's take a look at the first option here. And what you'll notice first is a number of different titles or topics of interest. Now, these are all coming from Google Alerts. And just so happens if I click one of these, I can see more details about other options that I can take. So you can see I can create a post, I can generate or change the brand and tone, and I can also delete something if I'm not interested. So if we scroll here and we take a look, I hit delete, and now this article or this topic is no longer available because I had no interest in it. I can now scroll down and find something that's more interesting. So if I click one of these articles here or this topic here, again, I can click change the brand if I want a different type of brand. And by the way, this brand can be customized to your use case or your needs. And then all I do is create post, hit the green button. And once that's done, you can see at the bottom it says this record has been updated successfully. So we have two paths here or two options. So now that we've leveraged AI to create the post, we can go to the bottom here and click here, or we can navigate back to the top at Smart Social and work our way toward that next step, which is now we're going to use the solution to post on our social media. So here's the post that we just leveraged. So if we scroll down, we see a nice summary. If we scroll down a little bit further, all we have to do is click the publish button here in green. So once we click that button, we will see this article now being made available on our social media platform. All right, so here's my LinkedIn page. As you see, the post is available. When we click the post opening up, we see the details of the summary. You can see that the summary also includes appropriate emojis. Toward the bottom of the summary, we now have a call to action. This call to action, it will encourage someone to follow up with you, to schedule an appointment, to get a free assessment. We can customize this call to action to whatever your business case or use case would be. So let's get started with Google Alerts. This is pretty straightforward. So this is where I get my news feeds or the titles that I want to use as a source to build my social media post. If I were, so you go to google.com/alerts and you type in a number of keywords or topics that you're interested in. So if I were to edit here, my topic is up here. The most important thing is the delivery. So I can deliver to a set of emails, or I can deliver to an RSS feed. I've chose RSS feed, and you can see all the options here. If I were to open this feed here, this link at the top is what's most important. This link at the top is what we will use in the next step of the solution, which is make, or formerly known as that integral method. Okay, let's take a close look at make.com, or formerly known as Integral Mat. This is the workflow automation platform that I'm using. And as you see here, I have a folder for social media automation. I have several other folders. But within social media automation, there are three scenarios that I want to walk through. We'll start with this first one here. So, step one. So, if I were to open this scenario, I have two modules. The first module is a RSS feed. The second module is Airtable. So you'll notice this clock on the first module. This is a scheduler. So this module is scheduled to kick off at a certain time. I think it's 8 o'clock in the morning. So if I look inside of this module, you'll see that it has the URL that we copied from the Google Alert RSS feed. So you just paste that URL here. And then I have down here 5 at the bottom, which is the number of items returned. So this is, for example, let's say if the Google Alert finds 50 items. I mean, I want all 50, I just want 5. So it's going to return 5. I could set this to 50, I could set it to 100. I just choose to use 5 because these are just as source ideas that I'm going to use when I create these unique posts to help manage my social media and improve my brand on social media. So once that happens, then I write it into my Airtable. So there are several videos again on YouTube that will walk you through the details of Airtable. But the important thing is you have to have a token. You have to create this connection between Make and Airtable for the APIs to work together. Once you've done that, you can then select the base. So the base that I'm using is a content blog with Softr and OpenAI GPT. And then I have a table within that base called social media post. So this is the table where all of these topics are going to land. So all of my actions that I'm doing going forward will be inside of this table, social media post. Now you'll see what I'm doing here is I'm using an upsert inside of Airtable. And the beauty of the upsert is I can create or update within a single module. So I'm creating a new record since I'm not using a record ID, and I'm creating this title. And I'm pulling the title from this first module. I'm also pulling a URL from this first module, which is the RSS feed. So, and then a couple other things that I'm doing is I'm selecting a status. So when a record is created in Airtable, I want to have a status, and the status I want is need a summary. And then the final thing I'm doing is I'm adding an AI business process automation 2024 as a topic title. Not that I'm using it right now, but I'll use this in the future for some additional things that I want to do later on. Let's take a quick peek at what I'm doing with Airtable. For those of you that are not familiar, Airtable is a cloud-based database. It's the combination of a spreadsheet and database. Very cool, very easy to use. I am not an expert at Airtable. I've watched a ton of YouTube videos to come up to speed on how to make use of Airtable for this use case that I have here. So to start with, so Airtable, this is the name of the base, content blog with Softr and OpenAI GPT. I could have named it anything. I think I copied that from another base that I was using in the past. The next thing you'll see is several different tabs. So each of these tabs represents a table within this base. So the table that we're using is social media post. So when we look at this table, we have a number of fields and records. So this field is for the record ID. We have title, we have content URL. So if we think back to what we saw in the previous Make module, this title and this content URL are all coming from Make via the Google Alert RSS feed. So we update, or we did the upsert in Make, it lands here and lands here. And then we also set the status field to need a summary. The other thing I want to point out is with Airtable, you can create a number of views. And the way you create a view is you click this grid, you give it a name, and then you set a filter. So the filter that I'm using for this particular view is status, is need a summary, and content URL is not empty. So the status is need a summary, so it meets that criteria, and then content URL is not empty. This is important because when we take a look at the next level, which is, or the next layer, which is Softr, Softr will make use of this view as our first step to interact with the interface. So here's my Softr interface. And for those of you that are not familiar, Softr is a web app and website development platform that allows you to leverage static and dynamic data for your business. So we'll go into this particular project here, Cloud 33 and 3. And the Smart Social is a function of my Cloud 33 and 3 website. So the thing with Software is you add blocks, and these blocks can contain static or dynamic data. So for example, I have a block here that's for header. You'll see two blocks of header, and I'll explain why I have two. So this first header block, if we look at visibility, this is for non-logged in users. So you'll also see this sign in button. If I scroll down here, we see the sign in button that takes me to a sign in page. The second header is only visible to logged in users. So once I logged into the software website, I don't see this sign in anymore because I'm already logged in or signed in. But what I do see is the Smart Social. So if I take a peek at what Smart Social does, this takes me to a page called Social Media Automation. So here on the left are all of my pages within Softr. So if I scroll down to Social Media Automation, we see that I have a page here and I have two blocks with or 2 points of access within this one page. So this is what we call a feature grid. The first grid says generate smart summaries for busy professionals. As I scroll down, I see that this takes me to another page called generate AI summaries. If I look at the second grid, it goes to a page called post on social media. But for now, let's focus on what's going on with the first grid. So generate AI summaries. Again, so if I go to the left and I navigate to that page here, so what you'll notice is now this is a list view. This list view is a dynamic list, meaning it's going to pull dynamic data. So we look here to the right, we see that this list view is now connected to my Airtable base. And there's a process that you have to go through. I can share a video on how to connect your Airtable and your Softr to allow the APIs to integrate. It's very easy. But once you have it, you can select the source, which is the personal access token that I'm using. Now I can select the base, which we saw the base name earlier. Now I can select the table within that base, and more importantly, I can select the view. So when I land on this page, the only content from the Airtable database that will be displayed or visible to end users would be what's contained in this view. And again, if we go back to Airtable, this view has every title that has needs a summary, and the content URL is available. The real power of Softr is here. So I have an items buttons, and with the item buttons, I'm able to create a post, change the brand and tone, or delete. So when I create a post, or when that field is selected, all it's doing is changing the status. So the status field would go from need a summary to create a post. So sorry for the back and forward, but we're interacting with this field here. And Softr API will come in and change this to create a post. So the question becomes, what happens when I change that status field from need a summary to create a post? That triggers an automation. So within Airtable, you have the ability to run automations based on views or based on conditions or based on different types of scenarios that may take place within your Airtable database. So what I'm doing is when a record matches a condition, right, and it's within the social media post table, that status is create post. The content URL is not empty, meaning the content URL has to be populated, and social media post has to be empty. So if we go back to data, we see those conditions are met. We have a content URL. When Softr clicks here, it's going to change this status to create a post, and this is empty. So once that happens, that sends it. If I go back here to automations, once that happens, this script then runs. And we'll get into the next make module in just 1 second. So this script runs, this is a webhook that takes this data and sends it back to make our integromat. And I populate make or integromat with the record ID, with the title, with the brand tone, with the status, and with the content URL. So let's hop over to make and look at the next module. I'll discard changes for now. So now we'll go to step number 2. So create a post. Let's look closer into this module. So the first thing that happens is here's the webhook. So what I've done is I've copied this from make over to Airtable, and I paste it right here. So whenever this action takes place, this script is run, this data, record ID, title, brand tone, status, content URL, is sent over to make, and it's received right here. Once it's received, I then take it and I send it into a chat GPT agent that I've created, and there's a prompt behind the agent that tells it to create a summary based on some specific content. So the content that I publish is the brand, which comes from here, the title, which is here, and the URL, which is here. Okay. And once that happens, then I run a second ChatGPT module. This is a completion module. I have a objective that tells it to create a CTA, and I give it the details of what I want the CTA to look like, and I give it an example of what I would like the CTA to look like, the call to action. And that's my system role. Then I give it a user role, and all I'm doing is giving it the results from this module, which is right here. So once this module executes, I take the results and I pass it over here to create a CTA, or call to action, that is aligned with, or it has a natural flow with the summary that was done in the previous step. And once that's done, I use another upsert record, but now I'm going to update an existing record. So this record ID comes from the original webhook from Airtable. So the record ID that Airtable supplied me, I'm going to update that record. I'm going to now paste in the social media results. I'm going to paste in a call to action, and I just copy in, just for future use, the URL as well. So one thing I want to point out with Softr is under content, this is where I can map the dynamic data. So for example, the title field is coming from the title that's listed within the title field within Airtable. This modified field is the actual modified date field that is within Airtable. AI generated post, that would be the result of the post that's generated from the social media post field within Airtable. So that's how you pull in the dynamic data from Airtable to make. So the next section I want to take a look at is there's one more view or one more page, which is how we post on social media. So, following the same guidelines, I have a source, which is Airtable. I've got my base. I've got a table, which is social media posts. But here I have a different view, ready to publish. So let's switch over here, and here's another view. So this view is set up with a different set of criteria. The status is ready to publish. Content URL is not empty, and social media is not empty. There are different ways of building it, but that's the filters that I've chose to create this view. You can see now that these titles have associated social media post as well as call to action, and the status is ready to publish. So this is important because once we go back to Softr, the same thing happens. So this page will only show content that's coming from this particular view in this table on Airtable. So if I go back to my website and I click this step, I see these articles, and this is an article that I can now post because I have a summary. I'm not showing the call to action. That's an easy fix, but this is now ready to be posted on social media. This is the first article. 3 ways to use generative AI to save time today, which is the same as this one here, right? So I hope that makes sense. And I will follow the same steps. So I've got an action button. This particular action button changes status to publish on social media. So once this is changed to publish on social media, it fires off yet another automation. This automation, again, when a record matches the condition, these things are met, and the status is published on social media, it fires off another script. This script does something similar, the same action as the first script, but I'm including the full social media post as well as the call to action. So if we go back to make and we look at step 3 in the scenarios, it follows the same logic. So my webhook, this was copied from here and inserted in here. Once it comes here, now I can send it over to LinkedIn. So within LinkedIn, I've integrated my Make and LinkedIn, and now I have an organization called Low Code and Testing, and all I'm sending is the social media post and the call to action. And all of these other things I left as default. And once that happens, I go back to Airtable, I get the record ID that came from here, and I change the status to published. And there you have it. You've just seen how easy it is to build a powerful mobile friendly app using no code solutions. Smart Social is just one example of what's possible using no code solutions. If you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and to share it with your friends. If you have any questions about any of the solutions that I've covered during this video, leave me a comment below. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell so you don't miss out on future content. Thank you so much for watching. And remember, with no code, the possibilities are endless.